my favorite deputy.
You got a friend in me. You got a friend in me.
We are recording.
Yes, we are.
I'm gonna pull up my notes. I took notes.
Oh man.
Did you?
No. I feel like I know this film well enough to.
Yeah, I mean, it's the original Toy Story. Okay. We don't have an introduction, but this
No,
is.
we don't.
But this is To Infinity and Beyond, the Pixar Retrospective podcast, I guess.
Yeah, I'd say so.
All right, so I'm Daniel Hudson.
And I'm Jarron Gravely.
And we had the idea to go back and watch all of Pixar.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, in preparation for Onward. It comes out in like 21 weeks, and there's like 21 Pixar films.
There we go. That's
Yeah.
it. That's the thing.
Yep. So, assuming we don't have a week where we just slack off, we should be able to do that.
Unless we wanted to skip Cars 2.
You know, I'm not gonna lie, tempted. I'm really tempted.
I don't know. There's enough to talk about there, I think.
There's definitely stuff to talk about with Cars 2, but
Yeah.
that's not the movie we're covering this week.
No, it isn't. We're going back to the beginning.
All the way to 1995. We're not covering the shorts because we're that person.
Yeah.
Those people.
We could do an episode just about the shorts, but
Yeah.
there's so many of them now.
Oh yeah, we would have to do like an episode for all the shorts before Toy Story, then like an episode for all their.
Yeah, that'd be difficult. We'll focus exclusively on the theatrical films.
Yes. Okay. So, Toy Story.
It is a movie. It is a story.
Yeah.
A
So
film.
I don't think anybody needs like any of the details, but you know, Toy Story 1995, directed by John Lasseter, who
Indeed.
we will try not to name too much because bad things have happened.
Yeah,
Oh man.
and the screenplay was written by a myriad of
Oh,
writers
yeah.
who would go on to do big things for Pixar. I believe Andrew Stanton and Pete Docter wrote it.
Yeah, and there are a few other people credited, like Joel Cohen of the Coen brothers, Joss Whedon, of all people.
Joss Whedon did, yeah,
And
which I find interesting.
some guy named Alec Sokolow. What?
What did he go on to do? I don't know, but
Yeah. He also wrote Cheaper by the Dozen from 2003.
oh, classic movie. Everybody loves that one.
Yeah, the two Garfield movies with Bill Murray.
Lovely, just beautiful.
Evan Almighty. I've actually seen a lot of this dude's filmography. What the heck?
Every subpar family film from the early to mid 2000s, I believe.
Pretty much. So yeah, that is the writing crew of Toy Story. This feels very much like a Lion King scenario where you just had a bunch of people who never went on to do other stuff that's noteworthy, but who just kind of like, not to say that the Coens or Joss Whedon didn't do noteworthy stuff after this. I'm just saying like there's some people in here who didn't really go on to do much else, but for this one movie, it was kind of a perfect storm.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is definitely how I would describe Toy Story.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I had not seen...
Wait, hang on. Joel Cohen of the Coen brothers was a different Joel Cohen.
Oh, you're right. Oh, this is the Joel Cohen who also went on to write the Garfield movies.
Yeah, he went on to write Monster Mash the movie. It is selected filmography. Cheaper by the Dozen and the two Garfield movies, as well as Daddy Day Camp and Evan Almighty.
Yeah.
Legendary. So, wrong Joel Cohen.
Yeah,
But,
okay.
Same.
This Joel Cohen makes more sense to be writing a Toy Story movie than the guy who wrote, like, No Country for Old Men and The Ballad of
Yeah.
Buster Scruggs. But yeah, you
Yeah.
know, like I said, it's the Lion King perfect storm.
Yeah.
This movie, 1995, that was a year after Lion King, right? Lion King was
Yeah.
1994?
Yeah.
It is crazy because the Lion King feels so much older than this movie.
Yeah, I think I would chalk that up to The Lion King being a traditionally animated film, and this being the first
Well, also,
CG film.
I think tone is a big player because, like, the tone of this film, it's like, you know, the two buddies getting together, going on adventure that we see in every animated movie.
Yeah.
And Lion King just feels so much more classic, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, not to say that.
It's Hamlet, basically.
Yeah. Like,
I
not
know
to say
because
this.
I'm in a production of Hamlet right now, and particularly the characters of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, I just kind of imagine as Timon and Pumbaa, like their dialogue.
Yeah, because Lion King 1.5 is basically Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead.
Yeah, it's from their perspective.
I think we've talked more about Lion King than we have Toy Story.
Yeah, the movie. But Daniel, what is a Toy Story?
All right, so I have Letterboxd pulled up right now. And its description is, led by Woody, Andy's toys live happily in his room until Andy's birthday brings Buzz Lightyear onto the scene. Afraid of losing his place in Andy's heart, Woody plots against Buzz. But when circumstances separate Buzz and Woody from their owner, the duo eventually learn to put aside their differences.
Yeah, that's a pretty apt summary, I'd say.
Yeah,
I feel like that's a good way of describing the film.
I'd put that on the back of the box.
Yeah, assuming it isn't,
Yeah.
or something like it. That's a good way to describe the film.
So yeah, rewatching this movie was definitely a treat. I don't think I've seen it in at least half a decade.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
One of my bigger memories from this movie was that the visuals didn't hold up all that well, but I mean, outside of like a few humans, no, they were
the dog.
And the dog. Oh, we will get to Spud.
Yeah. But it does still look pretty good.
Yeah,
a lot of the textures and stuff.
And it's definitely partly because they decided to focus on toys, you know, and not people.
Yeah, because the complaint of the day, or at least in retrospect, is that humans and CGI looked plastic.
Yeah, like
so it was a good call to make a movie about characters who are plastic.
Yeah, if they tried to make like The Incredibles for their first film, it would not have aged well at all.
Yeah. And I have things to say about that when we get to that one.
Oh yeah, we can talk about Incredibles when we get to Incredibles in like 5 weeks.
Yeah.
So
okay, back to the film we're covering.
Yeah, Toy Story. My goodness, we're not staying on track at all. This is turning into the Infinity podcast, but it's about Pixar.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've listened to the Infinity podcast with Patrick
I've heard of
Williams.
them.
Yeah, they never stay on topic.
So let's talk about like the plot, even though we've already kind of summarized.
Yeah, so
we kind of break down what happens, or we could start with like kind of the behind the scenes. I don't know how familiar you are with the like early process of it, but I find that quite interesting.
I think it's pretty interesting, but we should probably dive a little bit into the movie, the characters and stuff, because that's definitely a big part of like returning to these movies is to see how well they hold up as movies.
Yeah.
And I have to say, it is surprising how much they fit into just 81 minutes.
Yeah.
Because like this movie feels like a lot more happens. I don't want to say like it feels longer because the pace is pretty snappy, but it's mostly that feeling of just like you cover so much ground in so little time.
Yeah.
And like they don't even have that many montages. Like there's a few, but
yeah. I mean, obviously the strange things montage. We see a little passage of time.
Yeah, I have one note about that montage. So one of the big plot points is that Andy's moving in like a week. But like his mother like completely like changes his bed sheets, his comforter and stuff, and like gets him all these new posters for his room, and it's like that mom will just do anything for her kid, won't she?
Yeah.
It's
I
like-
mean,
like-
his dad's out of the picture. We're not going to get into those theories. I
theory.
genuinely do not like fan theories.
Uh,
Unless it's like for something, unless it's for like a show that's ongoing, like Gravity Falls, even though it's not ongoing anymore. Theory crafting for like a current thing, like, oh, Grungle Stan might have a twin brother. I enjoy that kind of theorizing, but like, maybe this thing, it was all a dream, or
yeah,
stuff like that.
that kind of stuff is stupid, and I think Andy's missing dad falls under that.
But do you know why he didn't have a dad?
Yeah, because they just couldn't make any more character models or something.
Yeah, they couldn't make another,
Yeah, so I mean, like, you know, just saving space or whatever.
Yeah.
Saving time.
I think it's up to the viewer to decide whether, what the fate of his dad was.
Well, that's just going into fan theories again.
Okay, that's true.
You
What
literally
matters
just said you
is-
hated that stuff.
Okay, yeah. You got me there.
So yeah, Woody's basically like the, I guess boss is the correct term for Andy's room.
That's fair.
Like they call it like a staff meeting, so I guess they see
Yeah.
themselves as workers.
I remember reading something like they wanted the toys to seem like adults and not children.
Yeah, I mean, outside of like Rex, they all
Yeah.
hit that mark.
Yeah, he's like the boss. He's like the CEO or
The CEO of Keep Andy Happy Incorporated.
yeah. Oh, but doesn't that tie into the theory that Monsters Inc. is actually? Oh my gosh. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Andy's the boss, or not Andy, Woody's the boss. My goodness. Woody's the boss of just all the other toys because I guess he got to be the boss because he's the favorite.
Maybe. Or he's like his character is like he's an authority figure, like he's the sheriff.
Yeah, that's true, and I think he probably got that partly because of like what his toy is, the sheriff aspect, but also just
Also, he's old. He's probably the oldest one. Now, we're not gonna. I think for this, any film that has a sequel,
we
let's
just
not
won't
talk
discuss.
about it
We
until
won't
get to
discuss
it.
that.
What?
We won't discuss it. We'll wait.
Yeah, we'll get to the next film.
Yeah, I mean that's gonna be soon. Like we just have 2
Yeah,
weeks.
Bug's Life is next.
Yeah, and then Toy Story 2.
Yeah, which I think is maybe the best of all of them.
Oh,
No,
I
think
mean,
3 is the best, but
no, 2's the best. we'll get to all that when
we'll
we
get
get to
there.
that. So
back to characters.
yeah, I think it's possible that Woody kind of like got the personality he got because so many other toys were looking to him
Yeah,
to be the authority figure, just because he was Andy's favorite for a while before this movie even takes place.
yeah. But doesn't Mr. Potato Head even say like, "Oh, he's been his favorite since kindergarten"?
Yeah. And I guess Andy's like in 2nd or 3rd grade, maybe.
Maybe.
I mean, they keep it pretty unclear what his age is until like the 3rd movie.
Yeah, because he's going to college.
Yeah, so I guess, is there like anything specific about Woody's character that really stands out to you? Because
Well, obviously, it's his growth throughout the first film. Not even talking about 2, 3, and 4, but
yeah, because one thing that really kind of surprised me is like Woody hits a nadir like 4 times in
Yeah.
Sid's room, and only in the very last one does he finally like get some self-criticism, some self-reflection in there and realize why he's been such a jerk.
yeah. But did you know it was good? I had to throw that reference in there. that he was going to be a very different character.
Oh yeah, I saw some of the original test footage, and Woody was just kind of like manipulative and gross.
Yeah, they called that the Black Friday reel, because, well, to get into it, Jeffrey Katzenberg of DreamWorks fame was like heading up that film because he was like the head producer or something at Disney, and he was wanting to make the film edgy, in his words. He basically wanted to make it a DreamWorks film, an early DreamWorks film.
Because early DreamWorks films are known for being edgy.
I'm talking, like Ants.
Yeah, I guess. For a kid's film, Ants.
Yeah. So he was like demanding they make it edgy, Pixar people. They didn't want that. They wanted to make the movie they wanted to make. They screened it, and Roy Disney was like, I hate this. Stop. But the gang at Pixar was like, no, let us make the movie we want to make. And they did. They had like 2 weeks to rewrite it completely.
Yeah.
Tom Hanks apparently did not like this version.
Oh, of course. Tom Hanks hates playing villains.
I was about to say, has Tom Hanks ever played a bad guy?
Yes. Cloud Atlas.
Okay.
Watch that
movie. Everybody loves it. Everybody knows it.
Yeah. He plays like 6 different characters in that movie. 2 of them are villains, and it's mostly just the kind of roles that, it's funny because Tom Hanks is playing a villain.
Yeah.
But
he's played some like morally gray characters, but
yeah, he definitely likes playing, the hero, the good guy. And deep down, Woody is definitely that.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's just really flawed, especially in this movie.
So we can talk about our other lead character.
Yes. Bo Peep.
We're getting to 4 later.
Yeah. No, Buzz is the other lead character.
Yes, Mr. Light Guy.
Yeah. And one thing I found kind of interesting, I kind of noticed watching this movie. So the introduction of Woody versus Buzz really does put them as opposites.
Yeah.
Like Woody gets this camera tilt down when he's introduced, and Buzz gets a camera tilt going up from his feet to his head.
That's right, yeah.
And it's just kind of nice to see, like, even the cinematography is putting them at odds. Just
also, they're both immobile. They're in toy form.
Yeah, during that. Which we can talk about why Buzz freezes up despite the fact that he doesn't know he's a toy.
That'd be falling into fan theories, but
well, I mean,
still interesting to consider.
I mean, like, my only theory about it is just all the other toys are doing it, and, like, Buzz is trying to integrate into their quote-unquote culture. So he's probably just going along with it.
Yeah, like a member of Starfleet would.
Yeah, like, I think that's pretty much the only reason, because, when there's no other people around, like, he won't freeze. Like, that scene the gas station scene, like, Woody would freeze when that car came by, but Buzz just, like, ran.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's probably just the reason why.
I know we're not supposed to get into the sequels at this point, but don't you think it's kind of interesting that Buzz kind of decreased as like a main character as the films have gone on?
Yeah, kinda, and that's probably because Toy Story has always been Woody.
Yeah. Well, the first one, it's about the both of them. It's
the
buddy film,
But I feel like Woody's character gets way more attention because there's not a lot to do for Buzz's character until he figures out he's a toy.
Yeah.
And then he just kind of gets depressed.
Yeah. But then, back to character growth, he gets used to it by the end and going into the other films. He just kind of accepts his place.
Yeah. So, I do think that's why, like, I'm pretty sure the writers or the people at Pixar have always considered Woody the main character of Toy Story.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's why.
And it fits. He's by far the main character.
Oh, yeah.
By far the best character of the films.
I would say so. I feel like we're not talking about sequels, so I won't mention Jesse, but at least for this movie, I think he is by far the best character.
He learns something in each of the 4. or has to accept something.
Yeah, and this one, I think this one has probably the most internal conflict, even more so than 2.
Yeah.
Because, like, Woody really has to get past himself in this movie. Like he always said, "Oh, we're there for Andy," but he's never had to like challenge himself on that. He's never had.
He's the top dog.
He's never had to deal with not being the favorite. So for him, it's not a problem that the other toys aren't a favorite, and he's never really had to accept their point of view.
Yeah. We could talk about the other characters, the other toys.
Yeah, so they really don't get much in this movie.
They don't, but they're all memorable. They all have at least like 1 or 2 moments. Yeah. I'm talking like the more prominent ones. Ham, Rex, Potato Head.
Potato Head is really a jerk in this movie.
Well, he's voiced by Don Rickles. I mean, he's, the legendary late great, may he rest in peace, insult comedian.
But more than like anybody else, he is the one to just like put Woody down, or he readily accepts that Woody is trying to kill Buzz.
Yeah,
like he's always pushing for other people or other toys, really, just to like, hey, wake up, Woody's bad, we don't need him. Let him burn in Sid. I would imagine that's the toy version of hell, just Sid's house.
Yeah, maybe. There are theories about that.
Yep.
But yeah, then there are like tertiary characters who don't really do much.
Yeah.
Or just kind of forgotten by, the rest of the series.
Yeah, Bo Peep is probably more of a tertiary character in this movie.
Yeah, she
doesn't... Like, she gets more screen time than most, but she doesn't really affect the plot in any way.
She's just kind of like the love interest.
Yeah, and it's not even like a love interest, like, oh, are they going to get together by the end of the movie? It's, nah, she and Woody already have a thing going.
Yeah.
Their flirting is a little over the top for a kid's movie, don't you think?
A little bit.
How about I get someone else to watch The Sheep tonight?
G-rated film.
Yeah, G-rated, despite the fact that toys get, like, dismembered. Like, living beings.
If it were released today, I think it'd probably be a PG for sure.
Oh, yeah, probably. There was one scene that just gave me the most existential horror. Do you remember the Combat Carl getting blown up?
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, that toy knew he was about to be exploded and had to just remain motionless the entire time until he finally dies.
Did you know that he was apparently going to be a G.I. Joe?
But then
they wouldn't allow that, so Tom Hanks ad-libbed Combat Carl, and it stuck.
It works. Alliteration makes it memorable.
Yeah.
All right, so I have like a few notes if we want to like try to hit those before we talk about the behind the scenes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So one thing, like really early into the movie, I noticed Andy is kind of rough with his toys.
He is.
Like not nearly as much as it gets in like Toy Story 3, but he's like throwing them around against furniture, smacking them all the time.
I mean, he's a kid.
Yeah.
I guess some kids are rough with their toys.
Yeah, but it just comes across as, like in Toy Story 3, they're all, oh man, Woody or Andy was never this rough to us. And then Toy Story 1, get smacked.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not a big deal or anything, because he never, like, destroys any of his toys.
No, he's a good kid.
Outside of giving Mr. Potato Head to Molly.
Yeah.
Which, I think Molly probably is the worst character design outside of Spud.
Yeah.
Like, she's not nearly as bad as the baby from Tin Toy.
I was literally about to reference that.
But just... something was not right when they designed Molly.
Yeah. There was a comparison of the baby from Tin Toy and baby Riley from Inside Out. It was just how far they've come.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, even Jack and The Incredibles, the first one, looks kind of rubbery and weird.
Yeah, and then in the second one, it's pretty much fine.
Yeah.
All right, so... One other thing I wanted to mention, so that Pizza Planet place,
Coolest place ever. Like,
exactly.
Who wouldn't want to go there?
Like they have so many arcade games that are like specific to their theme.
Yeah.
Like how many other arcades bother with that kind of stuff? They would just like grab like a ring toss game or a clown ball throw game or
Yeah. It's also a pretty sweet Alien reference in there.
oh yeah.
The chest burster.
Yep. My favorite part of that has to be the toy, all the alien toys and the little claw machine.
Oh, who doesn't love the aliens?
Exactly. Like they just have their own culture because they don't know any better.
Yeah.
So
Which comes from they were characters in the Buzz cartoon show.
oh, that's kind of interesting. That makes me wonder if Buzz recognized them or not.
They're from the same line, so
But then again, not getting into later stuff, but I mean, it makes sense they wouldn't recognize him because they're just a cult.
yeah, they are. Have you seen that video about?
I don't think
I
I've
forgot who
seen.
did it. I'll have to find it and send it to you because it's actually pretty interesting.
Yeah, I definitely want to like see it.
Yeah.
Just looking over my notes. Okay, so my favorite scene is still, since the first time I saw this movie up till now, it's got to be the troops.
Yeah.
The troops going out, like being their own little army and getting the info on Andy's presence. I
The
love
big
that
monitor.
scene. It's so much fun just watching them grapple down with a jump rope or have to, dodge one of those bouncing balls coming at them.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, though. They did such a great job with that scene, establishing like the scale.
Oh
that
yeah.
Being a toy is different than just being like a tiny human.
Yeah, like that's the first scene that really demonstrates the toy world mixing with the human world where they have to like freeze and stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas the opening scene where Andy's just playing with everybody, that like you showed that no context to somebody who had no idea what this movie was about. They just assume it's a kid playing with his toys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that scene is a load of fun.
Oh yeah. Probably definitely like my favorite of the film, even though there's some real highlights, especially later on.
Oh, for sure.
One thing I'd forgotten about, like there's so much setup and payoff in this movie.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like there's a lot of small stuff too. Like when Sid first comes home after he's grabbed Woody and Buzz, he like asks his little sister, "Is my package gotten here yet?" And then later the package arrives, and that's the huge rocket.
Yeah, the big one.
Yeah, there's just a lot of good stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. It's almost like this film was written by very talented people who knew what they were doing. And treated an animated film like it's, a real movie and not just for kids.
Yeah,
And for money.
I think the best way to handle stuff like that, because I'm in the middle of trying to write screenplays myself, which 20-something film nerd, of course, but
Yeah. I'm writing one right now, and
like what I've kind of learned and what I'm assuming they probably did in a few places is I call it planning behind, where you write out all the stuff and then you look at the stuff you did in the end and try to set it up in the beginning.
yeah,
Like don't try to plan it as you're writing, but just kind of backfill it in.
mm-hmm.
And I can imagine like once they got to the point where they needed to get Woody and Buzz on the rocket, they were like, "Oh, how should we do this?" And that's probably where the match setup and the magnifying glass setup came from.
Something I think is kind of neat is that in the first three, there's a Star Wars reference,
Oh yeah.
each corresponding to that film in the trilogy.
Yep.
When Buzz is like, right now Zurg is constructing a weapon that could destroy an entire planet.
That makes me
Which
wonder
is,
if Toy
Death
Story
Star.
4 has a reference to The Force Awakens.
Or would it be Phantom Menace?
Well, it's not a prequel.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I mean, maybe.
I guess Bo Peep is similar enough to Rey,
Yeah, you got the staff and all that.
and that she's like a junker, and
Maybe that's the big reference. Anyway. I have to say, this is
That's-
probably my favorite of the references, because Buzz just goes on and on about his mission and Zurg's devastation, and then Woody just screams, "You are a toy!"
Yup.
I love the delivery of that line. It is,
Timeless. It's a classic.
oh yeah, I burst out laughing, and I had seen this movie plenty of times before,
Yeah.
and that just still gets me.
Oh, sorry.
No, go.
Buzz references Star Wars, but he also references Star Trek because he does the Vulcan salute.
Oh yeah, he does. I think the Buzz Lightyear stuff is probably just like a mishmash of all the sci-fi things that are popular.
It would be, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah,
Because it seems like a toy line that would have been around in the 80s and 90s.
yeah. Is that? I would imagine this movie takes place in the 90s, because they don't.
Probably. It seems modern. Well, because 3 seems to take place around like 2010 when it came out.
Yeah, I would just imagine, because there's no like 80s era things like in the movie, or 70s era things.
And it does have a Super Nintendo, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, well,
Like a perfect look-alike Super Nintendo, which is kind of neat.
that is pretty cool. So, I guess Nintendo was fine with them putting their stuff in there, but not G.I. Joe.
No.
I guess G.I. Joe would be Hasbro, so I guess Hasbro just wasn't cool with it.
Yeah. Literally blowing up their product.
Yep. But I guess Mattel was okay with it, because Barbie eventually shows up.
Well, that's the thing, though. She was going to be in the first one, but they said no. But then when they saw that the first one was such a success, they're like, okay, you can use our thing.
Yeah, please do it.
Yeah.
Give us free advertising, Toy Story.
We'll eventually get to one of my favorite side character, Ken.
Oh,
in the
yeah.
third one.
Ken is great.
Yeah.
Back to this movie.
Yeah.
All right. So, I don't know if this was a reference forward or something that's referenced in Pixar later, but the gas station is called Dynaco.
It is.
And one of John Lasseter's next movies is Cars, where Dynaco is the big brand that Lightning wants to be a part of.
Yeah, it's a reference. Or no, it's all part of
The Pixar theory.
uprising when they take over.
I love the Pixar theory because it's so terrible.
It is. It just gets more and more convoluted the more films.
It's like after The Good Dinosaur came out, people were like, oh, well, this doesn't break the Pixar theory because that just means everything in the Pixar theory happens 65 million years in the future from The Good Dinosaur. And I just...
It's like if Kingdom Hearts needed to be more convoluted. Oh, you know what we could talk about eventually.
Oh, the Kingdom Hearts Toy Story stuff?
Yeah, well, the Toy Story world in Kingdom Hearts is officially canon.
That's right, you were telling me about that.
Between 2 and 3, it is canon. So
Yeah.
we could get to that eventually.
Will we talk about that when we talk about Toy Story 3 or Toy Story 2?
I guess we could do it after 2 as like an epilogue.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, the Monsters Inc. world is also canon because it takes place after the movie. But that's neither here nor there. Yeah, so you mentioned Dynaco. I like that's a reference because, like, you know, fossil fuels and stuff.
Because a lot of Pixar movies really just reference this film now, like the Pizza Planet truck, the A113 that shows up everywhere.
Yeah. Well, A113 shows up in non-Pixar stuff, too, because that was the classroom at CalArts where John Lasseter and a bunch of those guys...
Because I know Brad Bird referenced it in Ghost Protocol, and I think Tomorrowland, too.
Yeah, Tim Burton was in that class as well, so I think it's cropped up in his films, too.
Probably. I feel like...
Yeah, they were all in the same class.
We are definitely, like, figuring out how we want this to go, because we just keep talking about other stuff and not Toy Story.
Yeah. Back to the great film.
Yes. I guess it's kind of hard to talk about this one, because, like, so much of it really is just good on a script level, on an acting level. There's not too many...
Yeah, there's really nothing to complain about.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we could talk about, like, our own personal connections to these films, because...
Well, yeah, I grew up with these.
Yeah, what's the point of us talking about this if we're not bringing an us element to it?
Yeah. Nah, man, it was like my favorite as a kid. Always watching it on VHS. Either Toy Story or Lion King. Aladdin was another favorite.
Yeah. For me, this movie was not a particularly big part of my childhood, actually.
Really?
Yeah, so I mean, my mom had seen Toy Story. I think she caught it like on VHS once or twice, and she wasn't like a huge fan of it, surprisingly. So after I was born, she just like never made a point of getting that movie or anything because it wasn't important to her.
Yeah.
So I didn't see this movie until I caught it on TV once when I was, I want to say 7?
Oh,
Yeah, so I was a late Toy Story kid.
really? That's an interesting experience.
Yeah,
'Cause it
so
was just something, it was always around. It was always a thing.
yeah, that's how it is for a lot of people. And for me, it's just like I can remember the first time I stumbled upon this, and I started it like halfway through, so I didn't have a lot of context. It wasn't until
Yeah.
I was probably 11 by the time I saw this all the way through.
Well, I think it's one of those movies that anybody can pick up and enjoy, which
Oh yeah, it definitely is.
really says a lot about Pixar's process.
Yeah, their process of make good film.
And Cars 2.
Well, no, that blame Cars 2 solely on John Lasseter. And,
Yeah.
and I
But
feel
back-
no
back
guilt
to
about
this
that.
movie, back to 1995.
Yeah, so
It really does hold up, surprisingly.
yeah, in a lot of ways, like the comedy is pretty timeless, the visuals outside of the humans and Spud.
Don't you think it would have been weird if they like made it like an unintentional period piece? You know what I'm talking about? Like when you base it. DreamWorks did this a lot. Illumination does this as well, where they make it so chock full of like modern references.
Yeah, like just let it be dated.
Shark Tale really comes to mind, despite it being like a weird 70s gangster movie.
Shark Tale. What if we combined Shrek with Martin Scorsese? And Finding Nemo.
Yeah. I all this Martin Scorsese stupid, pointless,
The debates.
needless drama.
Now
going on
we're
right
dating
I've seen
this
people
pod.
say- What?
Now we're dating this podcast.
Yeah, we are. I've seen people say, Martin Scorsese is no one to judge. He chose to be in Shark Tale. But back to the thesis there that I was hitting at. Don't you think it would have been weird if, like, Toy Story, like, just referenced the 90s, like, a shot of Sid just gulping down a Surge. Or Andy
yeah.
flipping some pogs.
That would have been... I don't know if I would have hated that or not. Like, but I think I do prefer...
Or if they had a
The way it
character
is
who
now.
was, like, dippy fresh. Like,
No. They just went full on and rocket powered Sid.
Yeah. I'm so glad they didn't do that. The film still
Yeah.
works. In
Sid Works is
2019.
just Sid Works is just like the mean little shit that he is. He doesn't need
Yeah.
to be saying radical all the time.
Yeah. And I think that's interesting, too, because Sid doesn't know that his toys are alive.
Well, he does by the
Well,
end.
Well, by the end, but when he's, like, blowing them up and stuff, he doesn't
Yeah.
really know.
Yeah, but let's
He's
be
a
real.
worthy antagonist,
Yeah, for this film especially, but like I kind of get the feeling like if he was doing this to like squirrels or other small animals, he probably wouldn't care either.
Yeah.
Like I kind of get the feeling that Sid is just like a serial killer in the making, and Woody probably saved a lot of lives by putting the fear of God into him.
Well, he becomes a garbage man in the third one, so he's just,
Yeah.
seems like just an average guy by the end.
Yeah, like I said, Woody probably saved a lot of lives.
Yeah.
But that whole sequence... Okay, there is one thing that is kind of 90s about this movie. And that's when they're getting the plan together to scare Sid. It's kind of Mission Impossible-y. Just a little bit.
Mission Impossible come out yet?
Man, let me see. Because I feel like that was early 90s. Looking at... Oh, no, it didn't. It was 1996 when that came out. That's weird.
Oh, one thing that still is really good about this film. The soundtrack is really nice. Not specifically the Randy Newman songs; those are great. But his score is really nice.
The score is really good. I do have one complaint about the songs, though, and I'm glad you reminded me of this.
Really,
when Buzz is doing his big breakdown after he saw the commercial, right as he's trying to fly out the window, I feel like that song is way too specific about what's happening.
Yeah.
Like it kind of took me out of the moment when the song is going, "No, I know I can fly. I just have to try," or whatever those lyrics were.
Yeah, You Got a Friend in Me and Strange Things. They can.
Yeah, those two are
vague
great.
Enough.
Yeah.
Song about having a good friend, or and the other ones, weird stuff happens to people.
Yeah, those two are great. It is just that one song for Buzz that I felt was way too on the nose.
Well, I think it's interesting that Disney originally wanted to be a musical, but Pixar said no. And it was more like a compromise, that they'd have songs that kind of fit the scene, which I find really ironic in terms of Disney with Tarzan. That film's not really a musical because it doesn't have characters breaking out in song, but it has Phil Collins singing about the situation, but also vague enough that it can be played on the radio.
Yeah, Brother Bear has that same thing with Phil Collins.
I've not thought about Brother Bear in
forever.
Yeah.
We can talk about Brother Bear when we talk about Brave, because those movies are similar.
They are. I've gone on record saying Brave is my biggest cinematic disappointment.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Again, we'll have to wait until we talk about Brave to talk about all of this.
Yeah,
but
whenever that is.
Now I'm curious.
Yeah.
So yeah, this movie. There's a lot of
It's good. It's really good.
So good. I'm just happy that I rewatched this one.
Yeah. And you and I have talked about this before, that I've heard people say, "Oh, it'd be neat to see a remake or the same film with updated visuals."
Oh my gosh.
No, I don't think so.
That would be so terrible. I don't know. I think I might have mentioned this to you, but have you heard of Ghost in the Shell 2.0?
No, but I've heard of Ghost in the Shell.
So the original Ghost in the Shell, 1995, same year as this, maybe?
Yeah.
So it comes out. It's a timeless masterpiece. I love that movie. In 2008, the same director and a lot of the same team get together and they remake this movie, but they update the visuals. And so there's a lot of CGI now, and there's a lot of color swapping because they wanted the color of the first film to be more in line with the sequel.
Yeah.
And it's terrible.
I mean, I know Evangelion has done
those rebuild films. Yeah. Those are at least different though, because they're condensing a 26 episode show into films. But Ghost in the Shell 2.0, they use the same key animation. They just update the resolution. They have the same voice actors. They basically just took the lines out of the first film and put them in this remake.
Yeah.
And I do not want to see that happen to Toy Story.
I mean, 4 is probably Pixar's most visually impressive film.
Yeah, you shared with me that Nerd Writer video about the cameras and how they...
camera. It's, and it's not a case of animation trying to be live action, like the new Lion King, but it's just showing... Excuse me. That is not auditorially pleasing. It's just showing how far they've come in terms of filmmaking, in terms of technical filmmaking.
Yeah, right.
The cat in 4 looks like borderline live action.
Yeah, and it's nice to see Pixar really doing new stuff with their visuals, because now that Spider-Verse has come out, everybody's going to want CG to not be set in stone anymore.
I really think Spider-Verse was a nice, firm kick in the pants to just about every animation studio right now.
And, I mean, Toy Story 4 could not have been a response to Spider-Verse in any way, too soon.
No.
Between them, but...
Well, I think...
I hope it's indicative of
there's
the
a
trend.
timeline of important animated films. it starts off with Snow White being the first ever made.
And Toy Story is definitely
is
one of
definitely there on the line.
I
That's
mean,
the first.
even if this movie had been terrible, it would have been important just as the first feature released CGI film.
Yeah. And Spider-Verse is probably on that line somewhere.
Yeah, I feel like it is.
Because it helped. But that, we can do a one-off episode on Spider-Verse.
Even though it's not even Pixar adjacent.
No, not even Disney.
Yeah. So, you were talking a little bit about wanting to go into the background of this film. Let's do that since we still have plenty of time to talk.
Yeah, for sure. So it was released in '95. I believe it was the highest grossing film of the year.
Yeah, I'll double check that, but
We need like a third, like a fact checker.
just a third person just to go, hey, Randall, he's named Randall, do a fact check.
Oh, I'm wanting to be the top scarer.
Let's see. Yeah, I think it was Toy Story. It outgrossed even Batman Forever.
Wow. People, it came out like a year before I was born, but I'm sure people flocked to it because they wanted to see the new technology. Because I've said it before, 1995 was kind of like the turning point of technology, of computer technology. It was like the boom, like when people really started having computers.
Yeah,
the series Reboot was very popular at the time, which had CG. Very dated now, might I add. But it was a... Are you familiar with Reboot?
I have heard things.
I've never really seen it, but I know about it. It was kind of like Tron in that it was a in-the-computer type thing.
Okay.
But it was CG animated. It was a TV show. It was very popular in the early to mid-90s.
Well, 90s TV show CG animated just screams to me it's going to look bad.
Exactly.
Because, I mean...
And they were humanoid characters.
Because, like, Toy Story is probably the best CG could look back in the 90s.
Yeah.
And that's
the fact that people use the first Toy Story as, like, a benchmark for real-time rendered video game graphics. Not FMVs, or pre-rendered stuff.
Yeah.
But, like, is there a game right now in real time that looks as good as the first Toy Story? I think we've gotten pretty close at this point. Especially Kingdom Hearts 3.
Oh, yeah. Well, speaking of just, like, background production stuff, so this is John Lasseter's first time directing a feature film, this movie.
Yeah. He directed the shorts, all of them,
yeah, so
sure.
I feel like he wasn't the only one in the director's chair, quote unquote. He was probably just the only one credited. Because I feel like everybody who was like first generation Pixar, from Andrew Stanton to Pete Docter, were making contributions to this one.
Oh, absolutely.
Because, like,
it kind of had to have been a team effort, really.
Yeah, especially since, like, when did A Bug's Life come out? 1990.
98, I think.
Yeah, that was really close after this one, and John Lasseter also directed that and Toy Story 2, which was 99.
Yeah. Oh, we'll get to the production of 2 because there's some interesting stuff there. So,
like, to direct 3 CG animated films within a 4-year period, you're not doing that on your own. You have.
Well, I mean, nowadays it takes about 5 years, start to finish, to make a CG animated film.
Pretty much any animated film, like.
I mean, let's not kid ourselves. Hand-drawn animation, in terms of film, doesn't really exist anymore.
Not in the West, at least.
Yeah.
But.
RIP.
Rest in peace. But, like, I was listening to the director's commentary for Missing Link the other day, and yeah, it took them 5 years to make it.
Something about Hollywood, it's very reactionary. It's very, they if something works, it becomes a trend. Everyone tries to follow after it.
Yeah, and this movie's formula definitely, like...
Well, Well, not even the formula. I think people just assumed, oh, CG, that's what makes it good.
Well, yeah.
Toy Story and really all of Pixar's films are all justified to be CG films. Not hand-drawn, not live action.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true for this one. Like a lot of the camera stuff they do, it would be very difficult to do that in just a regular 2D animated environment.
Yeah. And I think, I'm pretty sure I remember John Lasseter saying this in an interview about how it's not the technology that makes the movie, it's the movie that pushes the technology. I forget the exact quote, but it basically gets right down to the point that it's not because it was a CG film that it was good. Maybe it's partially why people wanted to see it, because they'd never seen anything like it before.
Yeah, but unlike with Avatar, this movie stuck around in the cultural consciousness.
Well, yeah, 3 sequels, and everybody knows Toy Story.
Yeah, I feel like it's probably the biggest Pixar brand. Like, Incredibles 2 made the most money, but that was probably the most anticipated sequel they've ever had. This was just like, Toy Story is definitely like the brand everybody wants more of.
You might say Cars is more well known, but...
Well, in a toy sense, yes, which is very ironic.
There's a lot of irony there.
Yeah. You put wheels on something and it sells like hotcakes, so obviously Cars did well. But, like, Pixar hasn't made, like, any TV specials for any of their other properties, but they have for Toy Story.
I guess they haven't. Yeah, you're right.
I mean, there's technically Mater's Tall Tales, which are these, like, 5-minute short things.
Yeah, they're fun. Some of those are pretty good.
But they're not like a full-blown 30-minute, here's a self-contained story with these characters type of deal.
Yeah. There's going to be a Monsters, Inc. series on Disney+, but...
Ooh, that could be cool.
Yeah, I love Monsters, Inc., which we'll get to that in a couple weeks.
Yeah, that Monsters, Inc. is their 4th movie, right?
Yeah, it was after Toy Story.
Yeah, then Finding Dory, and then Incredibles, and then I think Cars was after that?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so... Man, we won't be talking about another John Lasseter solo film until Cars, pretty much, because
A
Bug's Life...
Let's look at the calendar real quick. So we're recording this on October the 8th.
Yep.
15th will be A Bug's Life. 22nd will be Toy Story 2. 29th will be Monsters, Inc.
Yeah, we won't get to Cars until November at the earliest.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there is definitely a through line, though, that you can draw with John Lasseter's work, even the stuff he didn't solo direct, like A Bug's Life and Toy Story 2.
Yeah.
And I'll probably talk more about this when we get to Cars, but it really is... You have your core two, they're dynamic and all that, but then you have a big community aspect surrounding it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other
and
toys...
it's all about going out into the world.
Yeah, whether you want to or not, but...
Yeah.
But, like, it's the other toys form the community in Toy Story. It's the circus bugs, really, in A Bug's Life. It's...
And the ant colony.
Yeah, and Radiator Springs in Cars. I think it's just really the kind of story he likes telling, you know?
Yeah. Well, isn't it kind of just like the classic story in general, you know?
Well, I mean, I think you feel that way because animated movies have been using that formula since we were born.
Yeah. Well,
But,
I mean, at its core, it's about a character who is kind of set in their ways. They go out in the world, whether they want to or not. They learn something. They learn something about the world around them. They learn something about themselves. And they come back having learned their lesson and grown as people.
Yeah, but I mean...
It's not like a hero's journey, not a Joseph Campbell hero with 1,000 faces type deal. But
Yeah, but I feel like that's almost too broad. I mean, you're basically saying it's a movie with character development.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, I think it really is just because, like, so many films after this one have really taken all right, you have your main two, they go on a journey, they got a quirky dynamic. Like, pretty much all of Pete Docter's work, from Monsters, Inc. to Up to Inside Out. Andrew Stanton with Finding Nemo and Wall-E. Brad Bird has kind of avoided it with The Incredibles, but Ratatouille a little bit.
It is mostly Remy. Well, yeah, it's Remy and Linguini's story.
Yeah, so... And then, you know, not just Pixar, DreamWorks, Illumination, all the companies really do it.
How much are we going to say the I were?
You know, Illumination isn't that bad. They're just terrible.
Yeah.
They're not a slur.
Don't you think it's kind of funny that Illumination has taken DreamWorks' spot as like the designated bad animation company?
Well, I mean, Sony took it from...
made amazing films.
Yeah, like, Sony took it from DreamWorks probably in the early 2010s, and now Illumination has stolen the title from Sony.
Well, because Sony made, in my opinion, maybe the best animated film of this decade.
And also the worst.
That is right.
Sony Entertainment, or Sony Animation, has the highest highs and the lowest lows, but I think...
Hey, when they fall, they get back up.
Yep, there they go. And now we're not even talking about Toy Story again.
Yeah. Getting off topic.
Like, I don't want to, like, paint this movie as, like, forgettable or anything like that just because of how much we don't talk about it.
It's really good.
It's just good, and there's not a lot to say because it's, you know, it's cleverly written. They didn't take too many risks with it because it was their first one and they wanted to, you know, be successful.
And I just think the other ones in the series are more interesting.
Yeah, I think that's probably the case. Like, this one is... Maybe it's just because it kind of set the standard, but it does feel very standard.
Yeah.
Because this is the formula Secret Life of Pets and Wreck-It Ralph and a lot of others build off of.
I mean, you could almost say Roger Rabbit kind of started the whole, oh, what's this thing like, you know, behind the scenes formula.
True. But, I mean, I think Toy Story is far more popular. Roger Rabbit's more of a cult hit these days.
Yeah. I might respond to this text.
Yeah, sure thing. I'll struggle to think of anything because we've pretty much gone through all my notes.
Yeah.
Well, we can talk about Spud now because we teased talking about how terrible Spud is.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't understand how they screwed up a dog that much.
Yeah, I mean, for the time, it looked pretty good.
Yeah, and I mean, in Toy Story 2, the dog there looks pretty great.
Yeah.
And that's only 4 years later.
Pretty close to a real dog.
Yeah, and, like, Spud just has, like, alien eyes and, like, barely any texture on his face, it feels.
The fur looks weird.
Yeah, they pretty much ironed out the fur by the time Monsters, Inc. came around, but...
Well, yeah, because Sully is a,
yeah,
entirely fur character.
That's what I love about early Pixar films. They basically gave themselves the hardest thing to do. Like, let's have a film underwater with CG. Let's have a character be made out of fur. Let's have humans.
Well, they had an incredible story, but also use the technology to push it forward.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
And that's definitely what Toy Story is at its heart. They have a great, solid foundation, and then you make a really, really great technological leap to make it happen.
Yeah.
Because I don't think this movie would work nearly as well as traditionally animated, or even a stop motion.
No, not at all.
Like, I feel like...
People have tried. Somebody on YouTube has done the entire movie with real toys.
Yeah, and I feel like if you couldn't do this with CG, stop motion would be the next best thing, and just have, like, real human characters but stop motion animated toys.
Yeah, almost like the Lego movie, even though the Lego movie was CG, but it looked stop motion.
Yeah.
Oh, here's a thing about the development. Tom Hanks is always the first choice for Woody, but Paul Newman was another choice.
Oh, yeah.
He went on to voice Doc Hudson in Cars. Billy Crystal was the first choice for Buzz.
That's right. I think there's still some of that test footage up on YouTube, isn't there?
Yeah, I showed it to you one time. He was the first choice. He turned it down. He said it was like the biggest regret of his career.
Yeah, but then he jumped to be Mike Wazowski, so...
I mean, he's much...
I think he's much more suited
Tom
to
Hanks
Mike.
and Tim Allen are like the only people who could voice the characters, aside from like, you know, stand-ins for non-movie stuff.
Yeah.
Billy Crystal is obviously I think the only person who could have voiced Mike Wazowski.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Pixar. Like, they just find the best voice actors, even if they're celebrity casted. They're pretty much perfect for the role every time.
They don't do what other animation studios do, in that they base the character around the voice actor. They just find the right voice actor for the character.
Yeah, and Tom Hanks was the right voice actor for Woody.
Yeah. I mean, talking about other films, but other Pixar films, but could you imagine Dory being voiced by anyone other than Ellen?
Oh, no, it probably would not work.
No.
Like, Ellen DeGeneres'
she'd
voice
just
is
fall
perfect.
under, like, annoying sidekick territory.
Pretty much. Like, and again, we're trying to break out of the Toy Story cell we've put ourselves in and talk about other Pixar stuff again.
Yeah, we'll get back there eventually.
Yeah, it's just, this movie is so short, it's, you know, pretty easy to understand why it's great, so it's just hard to talk about.
Yeah.
To the point where we've talked about how hard it is to talk about a bunch.
And because there are 3 other films, and yeah, it's the one that started it all.
Well, I mean, what a way to start, to be honest.
Yeah, for real. And you'd think it'd be like an impossible task to follow up on it, but
I mean, not only did they like make successful films after this, they made a successful sequel after this, pretty soon after it.
Yeah. Which I think the production on that one is very interesting.
Oh yeah, the production is interesting. There's a lot of just... There we go again.
Yeah, there we go again. I really like in this one just the comedy.
Oh yeah. I mentioned the "You Are a Toy" line just like made me belly laugh, but there's plenty of other great stuff.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of one just off the top of my head.
Uncultured Swine. That's a classic.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah. The soldier getting crushed by the mom, and then like they carry him away like no soldier left behind.
It's perfect.
Toy Story just became a war movie for 2 seconds, and it's great.
It's like when people saw Rogue One. It was like finally a Star Wars war movie.
Oh man. Oh, you know, one great physical gag was when they were looking at the presents, and they're like, "Oh man, they keep getting bigger. No, wait, there's a little one." And then the kid
turns around.
Yeah, and then they just start screaming, and they cut to right outside the house where they're just like banging against the blinds, and you can't hear. It's perfect. So many perfectly timed jokes.
One of my favorites is, I've got bed sheets. Who invited that kid?
Oh man.
And he does get some pretty lame presents until Buzz.
Yeah, like who gives you a lunchbox for your birthday?
Maybe it's like his uncle who like doesn't know him really well. Maybe his mom was like, "Hey, get him all just random stuff and like pull out the cool thing."
Yeah. Oh, you know, one thing we haven't talked about yet, the quote-unquote cannibal toys in Sid's room.
Yeah, those guys.
Man, there were some like really creepy scenes with them too.
Yeah. Like
the baby with the mechanical spider body. I remember being freaked out by that as a kid.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. But then of course the twist is great, and it's just that they're not evil after all.
Yeah, and they're just toys like the others.
Which I feel like that kind of influenced a few other animated movies like Corpse Bride and Paranorman in some fashion. Yeah. Where just the thing that looks so evil isn't evil, and it's for the most obvious reason of... Like,
confronting our own inner biases and
yeah, but like, obviously these toys aren't going to be evil. Like, they witness suffering at the hands of Sid. They don't want others to suffer.
yeah,
And like, that's just...
yeah, that's a good point.
Yep. It's a good thing he made them so creepy, though, because that really helped them freak them out.
Yeah, absolutely. See, there's something I was going to mention. Toy Story originally was going to be about Tin Toy.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Tinny.
I know we weren't talking about their shorts too much, but Tin Toy was like the first... No, it wasn't the first Pixar short.
No, that was Luxo.
Yeah, but it was one of their very, very early ones, and it's pretty impressive that they went from, just like how bad the humans looked in Tin Toy to how much better they looked in the first Toy Story in just a few years.
Yeah.
Trying to see, when did Tin Toy come out? Okay, Tin Toy was 1988.
Yeah. And Woody was originally going to be a ventriloquist dummy.
Yeah,
Because
that just
kids
looked...
have ventriloquist dummies.
Yeah. You might as well just slap a face on a Rubik's Cube and have
Or
them...
Sport.
Or Spork.
But we're not there yet.
Not there yet.
Several weeks to...
Oh, man. Toy Story 4 is going to be right before Onward comes out. That's how far away it is.
Yeah, we'll be getting to that in March.
All right. Well, can you think of anything else you wanted to talk about with this one? Because I think
Not exactly, not off the top of my head.
I think we've covered
We covered all
everything.
bases.
Yeah.
The next one, I'll write down some notes for A Bug's Life because I really like that one. That I find.
Yeah,
that
we're gonna have an interesting conversation with Bug's Life because I'm not the biggest fan of that one actually.
Really, I think it's super underrated.
Yeah. So who knows? Maybe you'll convince me.
Yeah,
But
who
we
knows?
will see.
Yeah.
All right.
This has been our sad, strange little podcast.
Yep. If we didn't scare you off, please come back next week. When
Subscribe to our Patreon.
Yes, that we definitely have.
Yeah. $5 tier is
$5 tier is an extra 20 minutes of us struggling to talk about Toy Story.
yeah.
Oh man, we really did struggle.
Yeah, we did. But next week, it's all learning. Is the first episode of like any online program ever good? You know.
No, but people come back anyway because they like the personalities. So hopefully you liked us.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're like the two guys. We're like, the Pixar, every Pixar film duo.
Yeah.
I'm not sure which one's like comic relief, but
No, Randall's the comic relief, right, Randall?
yeah, he's the villain.
Okay. So yeah.
All right. That was it.
Yep. Tune in next week.